Hello, my name is Russell Mullenberg, and this is Eat This Word, a weekly program where I serve up bite-sized bits of Bible. And the bite-sized bit of Bible we're going to be looking at this week is Psalm 139, verse 1. It says, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me." Cheating a little bit, I'm doing bite-sized bits of Bible. This is where we'll start each week that we're in Psalm 139, but my intention is really to take you through the entire Psalm. It's 24 verses, so we're going to take larger chunks. But this is the theme. This is the idea. I call Psalm 139 the I am known Psalm. What David, the author of this psalm, just really is marveling at and reflecting on, and he's inviting us to reflect on, is that God knows us, that God has a relationship with us, that God sees us. So a couple of things kind of by way of introduction to Psalm 139. One of the things I want you to notice is that this is language to God. This is talking to God. This is not language about God. What I mean by that is that the you in this verse, that when David is talking about God, he's talking to God. So it's all in the second person. It's all addressed to the Lord, and then of course the first person, and David talks a lot about himself, me, I, my. So it's you, Lord, see me, and you, Lord, know me. First person, second person. There's not a lot of third person in this psalm. It's not language about God, it's language directed to God. The other thing, just by way of introduction to Psalm 139, is it breaks up very neatly, 24 verses, into 4 stanzas. So 4 stanzas, 6 verses each, and it's going to break up like this. So the first 6 verses, God, you know me. David is just marveling at this idea that God knows him. The next 6 verses, God, you're with me. There's nowhere I can go that I'll be apart from your presence. Then the third stanza, God, you made me. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. In my mother's womb, you knew me. And then the fourth stanza, God, I am for you. So we're going to see, we'll do 4 weeks here in Psalm 139, each of these stanzas one at a time. And just to break it up a little further, in those 6 verses, there's sort of a 4 plus 2 pattern. So the theme gets introduced in the first 4 verses, and then those final 2 verses sort of take the theme and kind of bring it into hyperdrive, really bring it home in terms of applying it to David's life, to our life, and so I want you to watch for that as we work through it as well. So the first stanza, God, you know me, and we're going to look at the first 4 verses. It says this, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit, when I rise, you perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out, my lying down. You're familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. And the thing that just stands out to me is the way that word know and its synonyms get just repeated again and again and again. 7 lines here. 8 lines here, but 7 of them, the verb is know are one of its cognates. So, Lord, you searched me, you know me, you perceive me, you discern, you're familiar. Lord, before I say a word, you already know it. And so David just is marveling at the depth of God's knowledge. So we have a theological term for this, the doctrine of omniscience. It's a word that comes from the Latin. Omni means all, everything, science, knowledge, the Latin word for knowledge. And so the idea here is that God knows everything. All there is to know, God knows it. God knows all the science. God knows everything about creation. God knows history, forwards and backwards. He knows all of these things. If God were a contestant on Jeopardy, he would be the ultimate Jeopardy contestant, right? There's nothing he does not know. But what has David's attention here, what he's marveling at, is that God's knowledge of him is personal. So this isn't God, you know who the 17th president was. This is God, you know me. It's not just God, you know where the whales, give birth. God, you know my thoughts and my deeds. It's very personal. David is marveling at this idea that the Lord knows him. Look at some of the things it says, that general knowledge about what David's up to. When I sit, when I rise. God knows I'm standing right now. When I go out, when I lie down, God knows when I lay down for a nap. God knows when I get up in the morning. So general knowledge of what I'm up to, but more than that, he knows my preferences. familiar with all my ways. God knows whether you like sugar in your coffee or mushrooms on your pizza. God knows your likes and dislikes. He's familiar with all that. And then even deeper than that, he knows my thoughts. God who is, even when he's far away, and we'll see next week, he's never far away, but he knows what I'm thinking. He knows before a word comes out of my mouth, God already knows what I'm going to say. God's depth of knowledge about me is so complete, so intimate and personal. And so now, verses 5 and 6, the plus 2. So here's where David takes this idea into hyperdrive. He says, Lord, you hem me in behind and before me, lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. On the one hand, David's saying, I can't even comprehend just how much you know about me, Lord. The more I think about it, the more I am blown away by that. But you might be listening to that, and you might be thinking, especially this whole idea, God knows my thoughts. God knows what I'm going to say. There's nothing hidden from the Lord. That's maybe even sounds a little intimidating. Maybe like, well, there's some things I've been thinking that maybe I don't want God to know about. And that's true, and that's implied here. But for David, it's not something he's reflecting on to be scared. It's not something he's reflecting on to frighten us. And he says, this is wonderful. This is wonderful that the Lord knows me. I don't want to get too philosophical here, but scientists tell us that our planet is one planet revolving around one sun that is one of countless stars in our galaxy. So we're just one planet. There are probably thousands and millions of other planets out there revolving around thousands and millions of other suns in our galaxy alone. And then they tell us that our galaxy is just one of an innumerable number of galaxies that make up the universe. And so I'm one of 7-8 billion people alive on Earth right now. I'm going to live 70, 80, maybe 90, maybe 100 years, and then I'll be gone. And when I'm gone, they're going to be, at best, a handful of 100 of people who are going to really mark my passing and remember that I was ever here past 1 or 2 generations. And when you think about all of that I am one of just numerous people living on this one planet in an uncountable universe of planets. And whether we're the only planet that's inhabited or not, there's still... It's easy to begin to wonder, do I have meaning? Do I have purpose? Is there anything significant about my life at all? And the thing that David is just recognizing here is that God knows him. And if God knows him, that gives his life meaning. That gives his life purpose. That if God knows me in the midst of this countless multitude of stars and this innumerable number of people who've lived throughout history, and yet God still knows me. And he's aware of what my comings and my goings, and he discerns all my ways, then that gives my life purpose. I found this quote on the internet. It says, God's omniscience is a source of enormous comfort and assurance. It's not transitory or dependent on our performance. It's not conditional. Even if we don't decide to choose God, it doesn't diminish that he knows every single detail, right down to the number of hairs on our heads. His knowing us and having a personal, unshakable interest in each one of us is dependent only on his nature. He is quite simply the God who knows everything. He's the God who knows me. Or a simpler way to put it, the one who knows me best also loves me the most. And as we go through Psalm 139, the psalm that celebrates that God knows me, here's the message. The one who knows you best is also the one who loves you the most.